apprehensions at the southwest border reaching a 20-year high in the month of April. It's according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. This with the number of migrant children in facilities doubling just in the past 2 months. Joining me right now to discuss that is the Federalist senior editor, Christopher Bedford. Chris, this story just gets worse. A minute ago, I said, look, bad policy equals bad outcomes, and we're certainly seeing that at the border. Your reaction to the new numbers, where now the month of April is higher than the month of March, with 174,000 people apprehended at the border. Yeah.
On Thursday, Governors Ducey and Governor Abbott of Texas and Arizona came out and said they basically had no communication with the White House on the crisis in their states. On Friday, President Biden said that the numbers are going to be way down. They had this under control, and now we've seen the numbers. The numbers are not way down. The numbers are bigger than they've ever been before. And while the number of accompanied children aren't the greatest month we've ever had, that was the month before, they are one of the greatest months we've ever had. It's a complete disaster. And like you said, bad policy it causes bad outcomes. And here we're looking at something where you have President Joe Biden saying they're not going to enforce this. They're going to end this tough enforcement of the last administration, and there's a flood. But even more than that, the communication between the United States and Mexico has broken down in the cartels. Now, this is industrialized. The cartels make billions of dollars, literally billions, on industrialized smuggling of humans over our borders. And at the same time, they're smuggling record amounts of fentanyl over our borders. The border towns are in chaos, and this operation will continue no matter how many phone calls the vice president has with Honduras or Guatemala or whatever other country. The problem is with Mexico and with the administration.
Yeah, I mean, she's looking for the root cause. How about the root cause being overturning Donald Trump's tough stance on border policy? Here are the numbers. In April 2021, CBP announced 178,622 apprehensions. These are the people that we know about. We don't have the quote-unquote got-away numbers, the people who have actually breached into America in this country, seen on surveillance videos, who just got away. These are the people who were apprehended. They pretty much want to be apprehended because we know that they're going to be legal for a time until they see a judge. So 178,000 people in the month of April on top of March's numbers, which was 162,000, and February, which was 100,000. It just keeps getting worse. Crisis at the border. Are we going to have a crisis in the economy? Today, lots happening with the Republicans. House Republicans voting today to remove conference chairwoman Liz Cheney from the number 3 position in the caucus leadership. What is your take on this, Chris? Cheney spoke on the House floor last night. She's warning that democracy faces a never-seen-before threat, according to her. Your thoughts?
Well, Congressman Cheney is completely entitled to her opinions. She's also allowed to not cooperate with her conference, not get along with any of her colleagues, and not raise money for anyone. But what that would make her would be a backbencher, not a member of leadership. The Democratic Party, if Steny Hoyer, who's more of a moderate, were out there every day attacking Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with Donald Trump or Kevin McCarthy's talking points, that kind of thing would not be tolerated. Liz Cheney is not being kicked out of the GOP here. She's being kicked out of leadership because she's a bad leader and has failed dramatically at her job. Now, I don't expect that this rejection will only be from her own colleagues in the Hill. I expect it also to be from Wyoming and the voters. They're angry there, and as long as that race is not split 6 different ways, she's going to be rejected by her home state as well.
Yeah, Lee Carter, jump in here. Chris makes an important point. She's not being thrown out of the GOP. You have to represent the conference if you're going to be a leader of the conference. And so far, she's not representing what the majority of people in that conference are saying about current policy.
You can certainly understand Republican leadership saying that she is not part of the Republican leadership because she's going a different direction. But I'm curious what you think about Mitt Romney's comment, who said this is ultimately going to lose votes for Republicans, saying there's not enough room for people with different opinions within the Republican Party. It shows a fracture within the Republican Party. It shows that there might not be room for you if you're a Republican who questions Trump leadership and some of the things that happened. Do you agree with Mitt Romney or not?
Well, I'd say that Mitt Romney is living proof that there's a lot of room for different opinions in the GOP, as is Congressman Adam Kinzinger and a number of others who've been very critical, from the libertarians to the conservatives. There's a pretty big difference in how the GOP operates, also with a lot of corporate guys in there. The problem with Cheney here is, like I said, it's not that what she believes, it's what she's doing. By going out and consistently attacking, taking the bait and attacking her own party and attacking the former president, she's making it difficult for the party to message to their voters and get out the things that they're trying to do. And at the same time, her job is essentially helping to facilitate her fellow congressmen and congresswomen getting on television, getting in the press, getting interviews, raising money, and winning re-election. And so far, when she declines to do that, she can stay in that party, but she can't stay in a position in leadership.
Yeah, that's exactly what Kevin McCarthy told us on Sunday. We'll play that later on. Christopher Bedford, good to see you this morning. Thank you, sir.